Hi,
Hi,
guys.
Jamie.
I'm just going to move over a little bit this way. Hold on.
No problem. It's the
There
opposite
she
way
There we
is.
go.
it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's the
Like
opposite way.
everything's a little backwards. So
Everything is a little
a
backwards.
little backwards. There we go.
We
How
all
are you
have
guys?
we all have cool glasses on. Just have to point it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Love that.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
It's nice to have you here, Jamie. And I think you know Alfredo because he's been to your salon before, is what I understand. And obviously, you and I know each other, and I've had the pleasure and have been so grateful to have you being part of the family, the tribe, the hairdressers that are looking to elevate themselves, and you've been a beacon for them. So thank you so much. So Jamie, for those that may not know you, we do have people who are a lot of people who join us from other countries, and so not everybody knows you. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, from whence you came, and what you're doing now?
Sure. I'll give you the Cliff Notes.
Right?
So I am 32 years old. I'm from Bristol, Connecticut. Since I was about 13 years old, very, very drawn to hair. I think in the very beginning, before doing that, I think my mother, as much as she loves me, had the stigma around hairstylists, right? That's not what smart women do. They don't go do hair. And I said, no, Mom, this is what I feel called to do. I'm going to go do it. So after much begging and pleading, I was able to prove her wrong and change her mindset around the success of this industry and how beautiful and wonderful it is. I worked in a hair salon, family-owned hair salon, for about 8 years, and kind of grew my foundation there of kind of what I loved, what I didn't love. I did everything from barbering to rainbow hair to updos to makeup to manicures and pedicures. And I was an artist growing up too, so I would paint my feelings onto canvas. And when balayage kind of came and made its debut from the 70s, right? So it was when Khloe Kardashian had like the first ombre that came out, and everyone's like, how do we do that? I remember that like as a significant point of me realizing that I wanted to go out on my own, because I loved wanting to create hair the way I wanted to create hair and not confined into a bubble of what I should do, but I wanted to be an artist. And at that time I was married to my husband, Nick, still am. And I had a 4-month-old baby, and we were living paycheck to paycheck, just struggling. And I kind of was sick of struggling so much, and I thought the only thing to do was to go out on my own and create success in what I really loved doing, which was doing art the way I wanted to do it. So I went and rented a chair for about 3 years, and that's when I started Pretty Little Ombre. It was when I went out on my own and decided to put my artwork out in there. And then all of a sudden people started asking me how I was creating this artwork. This was about 4.5 years ago. And people were asking how I created this art. And honestly, I think that was when they started asking, do you teach classes? And I remember thinking like, no, I just do hair. I'm not an educator by any means. And at that point, it was interesting because at one time, this woman asked me, would you be able to come up to Boston and just teach? And I was like, okay, let's just try it. And I fell in love with it. And from there, I realized I loved helping people. It was more, I was able to expand the way I was helping people. It wasn't a one-on-one situation anymore. I was able to take a classroom of people and give them that light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I can approach color this way, or I can change the way I think about helping my my team or my clients and make them feel more beautiful and understood and heard. And from there, I realized I want to help more people. And then it just kept going from there. And I created my first online course 4.5 years ago, which was Balayage Badass. For all you ladies out there who are just Balayage Badass. And that was like, it was a journey. And from there, I realized I wanted to do more and ended up opening up my own salon. and then creating an education space and travel educators all over the country. And now I've actually, I had a very spiritual journey my whole life, but more now, more now. And I've done a lot of healing on my own from things that have happened in the past, and being able to now help others kind of rewire old limiting beliefs. I've actually gone to school for as a hypnosis and NLP coach in the art of mindset and manifestation. So now I'm helping entrepreneurs gain perspective on the 80% of mindset, which is actually where all their success is held. And also my team helps them with business and with growth and development and team strategies. So it's been a wild ride. And that's where we're at.
And that's where you're at. Well, it's that's a wonderful place to be, and in such a short period of time, relatively speaking, from the time you realized that there was more out there for you, and then how can I set my mind to getting that and manifest that with purpose. And I really appreciate obviously you taking that journey and then being willing to pay it forward to all of the hairstylists out there. I guess you touched on something that actually I think might be interesting, which is that, how do you sort of break through limiting beliefs? And I am what I'm feeling, which sometimes is how I operate, right? Is that there will be there is a potential that coming out of this, there will be a lot of limiting beliefs.
100.
And yes. And so, how have you been, because you have a team of how many?
Total in the salon, we have 7. Total, we have 16 with admin, Salt Society, and travel educators.
Excellent. And I'm sure that they are, of like mind with you. So they're sort of managing that for themselves. But what would you say to people right now who, are some techniques, I would say, that if they find themselves going down the path of this isn't, I can't, I won't, I will never get through this, get over this, be okay when I come out of this, they're sort of writing the script of their limiting belief right now. And we know that sort of gets imprinted in our subconscious, and that's where we have blockages in what we call manifestation. So what are some tools you could give to some people today that might help get them through this without creating limiting beliefs?
Well, it all depends on kind of where you're at and the goal that you want to have, right? So let's think if we're feeling, I think a common thing that we're hearing now is, well, my clients won't be able to afford, they probably have all lost their jobs, they probably won't afford to come back. And thinking about that in perspective, it's easy to get lost in the what ifs, but they don't serve us. So they can serve as preparation, but they don't serve as good energy, and they don't serve as growth. So the most important thing when it comes to, and this is what I educate on in my mindset courses, is the understanding of the mind and how actually the program even gets there in the first place. So, our subconscious, like you were saying, Sherry, is your supercomputer. So it holds 95% of your life, your beliefs, everything you've ever experienced in your entire life, all of the programming that we've been experiencing. So how you were raised, the people that are around you, social media, movies, TV, all of the expectations of society, of your friends, of your family, of seeing other people in the industry and trying to live up to maybe what they're doing. And it's important to understand that most of us are living off of someone else's programming. And to tap into, what you're called to do, it's important to understand, what is my goal short term? I think oftentimes we think so far in the future, and we get so scared, and it's like a nerve-wracking thought process of how do I get from A to Z, right? When really we just need to focus on getting A to B. So the first thing to focus on instead of the negative is focusing on, is that a real thought? Is everyone not going to be able to afford that? And trying to switch that into what if the negative to what if the positive, to prepare us for the positives instead of the negatives. So hypothetical situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid that the negative is all of my clients have most likely lost their jobs. No one will be able to afford it.
Mhm.
What if we think about it in preparations is, what if everyone's looking forward to seeing me again? What if I'm going to be getting a lot of people that want to come and see me? How am I going to prepare my times for that? How am I going to make sure that I don't get overwhelmed with that? How can I strategically plan this so I don't get burnt out? So instead of thinking about the worst case scenario, think about the best case scenario and plan from that space. Because that way you always have a strategic plan put in place instead of, what if nobody comes? What if they all come?
Mm-hmm.
If nobody's looking forward to seeing me, what if they all look forward to coming to see me? Which most likely in our industry, most people are like, please unlock your damn door and let me get my hair done. Because all of us want to get our hair done. So it's really important to understand too that to remove, as hard as it is, because it is a strategy to remove those old blocks, a scientific strategy is called neuroplasticity, and it takes a lot of time and effort to rewire old programming. But I liked what Alfredo said too, like, you're always so positive. And people say that about, me too. And I think
Yeah.
the thing is that we've trained our minds to be that way, filled with gratitude, filled with love and appreciation. And you can't help but see through that lens, right? Most times. So when you were starting to watch the news more frequently, your brain was taking in a lot more lower vibrational energy, which means you're going to start to feel that energy.
It was draining. Yes. It was
It is
sucking
draining.
the positivity
I
out.
watch
Yeah.
the news maybe 10 minutes a week. I get a recap of what's happening in the world, and then I put it away. And I focus on my family and my team and myself.
I
Not-
love that because for me, I've never even told you this because we've been friends so long. I adore you. But like being a positive person, when I have moments, Sherry does it too. Sherry puts a lot of inspirational stuff on her page, but I'll be like, I need to look at Jamie's page, and always, it's not 9 times out of 10, it's 10 times out of 10. I can look at some of your posts, and there's something that's gonna like lift my spirits. Because the way you focus on things, it's exactly what you just said. It's solution based. You're talking about solutions and being in the now and focusing on positivity, and you can do this. So you're actually, I actually go to your page to look for when I'm having those moments like, okay, I need a pick me up.
Yeah.
So how about your team? Like, how do you train them to have that same mindset as you? I've met them. They're all incredible people. Like, how do you get them to follow that same belief system in the salon?
Well, I think as a leader, I think it's important to, you have to come to the table with solutions, but you have to come encouraging. You have to come with understanding and with love, right? And not every single person has had the same upbringing. Not every single person sees the life through your eyes. And so when you can come with empathy and understand that everyone sees life through their own set of lenses, right? It's funny that we're all sitting here with our glasses on. It is true. Everyone comes to life with their own set of perception goggles, right? Everyone's life, they see life differently. So what lights me up may not light someone else up. So from my team, I have to come from a space of understanding and encouragement and understand that they may be struggling with something completely different from someone else on my team. So it requires a little bit more of one-on-one during this time to give them the support that they need, to give them the space that they need. I think is even more important. I think sometimes we feel like we have to inundate them or be like there all the time, when really sometimes people just need that quiet space, and understanding what particular people need and how they need to be loved and how they need to be heard. So coming from more of an individual aspect. because I can't talk to my team like all of them together and speak to them the way they need to be heard, you know? So
I love that.
yeah. We've been connecting through Zoom meetings, but also just sending them little messages and updates when we have them, but encouraging them to go through this time the way they need to, because I always say, when's the last time you were in a quarantine? When's the last time that you were afraid of leaving your house because you didn't want to get your loved ones sick? You didn't want, you're seeing all these people around you that are in peril, that are in it's a lot of heaviness for a lot of people. So however people navigate it is entirely fine. Honestly, there's no roadmap. There's no guidebook that's going to tell you how to get yourself through a quarantine when you've never done it before. But the most wonderful and beautiful thing that I can say that I've gotten from this as a leader is that we're all in this together, that we're all feeling it together, right? Because sometimes we go through these weird times in our lives, whether it's the loss of a loved one or struggling with depression or anxiety, and maybe other people aren't feeling that. But we're right now more connected than ever. We're all feeling these new emotions, and it's such a beautiful thing for us to come even here together to know that it's okay and it's valid, and you're not expected to do really anything perfect during this time, right? If you want to just navigate through emotions and then go back to work, that's fine. If you want to invest in your education, that's great too. If you just want to be there with your kids, that's fine too.
Excellent. And so, Jamie, how are you managing from the salon perspective, the clients? What are some things that you're doing?
My salon manager comes in 5 days out of the week, does emails, does phone calls, and we've had to basically call each and every single one of our clients and postpone them to a later date. Then the government told us that we were prolonged another 30 days. So then we had to do it over again. So in the light of potential having to get it postponed again, we basically put everyone on a hold. And we are going to contact everyone again when we actually know for sure. And then we're going to start filtering them back in slowly. We've been connecting with people as much as we can to make sure that they have everything they need. Other parts of my team have been reaching out and making sure that they have everything that they need during this time. If they need any support from their hairstylists, but also just making sure that they know that we're there for them. So right now it's different for each state too, Some states are already filtering back in, and right now we're not. I think for Connecticut, we're May 20th. But I honestly foresee it going further than that. We're in a very close to New York, Alfredo, and honestly, our numbers just keep skyrocketing. So it's not great where we are.
Yeah, we've got to keep doing our part to keep our family members and the family members of others safe, just like you said, Jamie. We do have somebody who's in the chat box right now, and I think Allison appears to be a stylist who is struggling with her salon owner. And as a salon owner, I think it'd be really great if you could share with anyone who's watching who's having a similar situation, whether that salon owner wants to open and they don't feel comfortable going in yet, or whether they don't want to open. I don't know. There's various scenarios, as you said. We're all going through our own thing. But what would you give as advice to somebody who needs to broach a conversation with a salon owner that they might not have? Maybe their salon owner doesn't have the best communication skills, and yet they still need to have that conversation. What might you say to them?
So this is a challenging subject because, like I was saying before, everyone comes in with their own perception goggles, right? Everyone sees life differently and everyone communicates differently. And the most important thing to understand, first and foremost, is that your salon owner is a human just like you, who is probably going through their own set of emotions just like you. And though though most likely are going based off of trying to get their business back up and running to make ends meet, right? To get things back to normal. It's also important that they're mostly likely doing the things that the government has mandated them to do. And if you don't feel comfortable, what I always suggest my team to do is to come up with how you want to approach the conversation and then come up with a solution. So most times people come in with a problem, but they don't know how they want it solved. So if you can start to add to that conversation with a solution in mind, and then come in with the standpoint of collaborating and communicating together for a desired outcome. It may not be the exact desired outcome, but at least it could have come with communication. And I think the hardest thing is that everyone is so emotionally heightened right now. And it becomes a little difficult to have effective communication when emotions are high. Things are said that maybe would not, I think a lot of anger comes out. I think a lot of hurt and resentment comes out. So before you go in with this communication, feel your feelings a little bit more and come in with solutions. And in hopes that your salon owner would respect it and be able to make new solutions together to make that happen. But it's such a difficult thing to navigate because each salon owner is so different and their communication is so different.
Yeah, I think there's that very old, well, I don't know how old it is. I'm sure somebody will tell me. I get DMs later of like, this is where this came from, which I love. So keep it coming, keep educating me. But you know, there's that saying of seek to understand versus being understood, right? So maybe it's about trying to understand where your salon owner is coming from, why they're doing not in an accusatory or judgmental way, but just to really understand where they're at, and then maybe from there being able to express, you know, that this is I'm feeling this way, owning those emotions, owning the feelings that you're having, and to your point, collaborate on how to come up with a solution to get over them, which I think is a good place to start.
And just to add on that, I think it's also important to know that, you know, every person that you meet is reacting from an emotion. So like we were talking about the subconscious mind before, is that all of their belief systems are held in the subconscious mind, and everything that's stored there then stems to a thought, then to an emotion, and then to words and actions. So it's important that you understand when someone is reactionary and coming from anger or aggression or doing something that you don't agree with. Most likely you can kind of understand that it's coming from something that's way below the surface that you can't see. And once I learned that, it helped me understand my team better. It helped me empathize with people I'd never met before. It helped me empathize with just, I think, most new people, or most people in general. I could understand and empathize that most reactions come out of pain or fear.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, as I suspected, it's already come through. 1989, Stephen Covey said, "Seek first to understand, and then be understood." Which reminds me, there's a few really good books that any of us have access to. You know, Jamie has gone through the work of becoming a coach. I myself am also a certified coach and pastoral counselor. And those are longer courses, if you will, but 3 books that I would recommend. Yes, Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Another is one that I posted recently called Dare to Be Yourself. It's a great book on reflection and how, because of these things that we've gone through, Jamie, we end up putting on, you know, sort of the initial story is about a golden Buddha that they kept covering, that kept getting covered in mud. And one day you no longer see the golden Buddha. And that's what we do to ourselves sometimes, is we continue to cover or mask ourselves. So how do we peel that away. And then what was the other book that I was going to say? Now it's escaped me. So Dare to Be Yourself, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and then one other that I can't think of right now, but it'll come back to me, I'm sure. Oh, Blair Singer's Little Voice Mastery, which is talks about the subconscious and how, you know, we put the BS in there. That's where our BS comes from, belief system, but it's also where we store. I think we lost Jamie for a second, so I'll just keep talking. So it's where we store a lot of the BS that we've encountered throughout our lives.
I was going to say it's like double entendre, right?
It is. It is. I like that word, a double entendre.
Yes.
And so, you know, how do we do very specific things to address the little voice, and then to sort of combat the little voice? And there's some great exercises in there that we use in education a lot, celebrating all wins, because the wins actually, you know, if you think about it, how many times, Alfredo, would you say that you've done something that maybe didn't meet the expectations of either yourself or someone else? Has that ever happened to you in your life?
Never.
That's good.
No,
happens
of course.
to me all the
It
time.
happens to me all the time.
And
all
how
the time.
long do you obsess about it?
You know, I'm probably my worst critic. I'm sure you're the same with yourself, I would assume. I don't know. I'm probably my worst critic, so I obsess on stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
I will let it go. I don't hold on to it for weeks, but I will hold on to it for like a good couple days and just go over it in my head.
But I think the point is, honey, I always tell you, don't feel bad, because I think everyone does that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I don't. Yeah.
And then I say, okay, how many times have you had a win in your life? And I can promise you that you've probably had a lot of wins. And how much time do you give equal amount of time sort of owning that win as you did obsessing about the you know, the disparity in meeting an expectation?
No, I think I hold on to the win for like a night and I feel really good about it. And then the next day I'm like, okay, what do I have to do now? Like, what's next? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those are things that in, you know, in this whole idea of sort of squashing or quieting, I'd say, the little voice, there are exercises in celebrating wins and being more mindful of the thoughts that we're putting into our vessel, right? We've been talking about the open vessel. So what kind of thoughts are we ourselves putting into our open vessel, and how do we manage those? We have a few questions. Let's see in here. Lisa says, how are employees handling with the stress of starting back in the salon, social distancing not possible, and other forms of protection? So, Liza, we're not, it is a great question. And you've got me and Alfredo here. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have come up as it relates to conversations we've had with salon owners. I think the first is Braden was on last week, and he had some great, I've got an echo now. He's had some great ideas on making sure that you're working with your clients, your stylists, and ensuring that they are what do they feel comfortable with, like leading in the situation of what they feel comfortable with, not going back too soon, and definitely doing what the state is recommending. So if the state is recommending social distancing, I think you're going to have to find a way to input some of that protection in there, whether that be from a spatial perspective or from a scheduling perspective. Jamie, welcome back.
Don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I made an exit, but I came back in.
You did come back
good.
in, and we're just getting great feedback. Everybody's loving it, and I think this is like, I always say, like, this is like a new normal. Like the way that we're communicating with hairstylists, it's so unique and on the fly. So you were just gone for a minute. We did miss you, though. We're glad that you're back.
We did miss you.
What that comment that they said, that what they just came in, like what to Jamie's point, what she was talking about earlier, it made me really think, Jamie, because you're talking about how everybody's seeing things through different lenses, if you will. And then they're asking questions about how do you deal with a salon owner I'm having problems with. But then there's the other side of it where some of the hairstylists are saying, you know, the state or the country says we can go back to work. I'm ready. I'm calling my
Right.
clients, but maybe the salon owner's like, I think we're going to take a pause because we need to get certain things in order before we feel comfortable opening.
Yes.
And then there's that other side of it, of the hairstylist being up, you know, it was really making me think just how many different personalities, thought processes are
Yeah,
happening right now on all sides of the spectrum,
it
and
is. It's
how, you
challenging.
know, how for people to manage that communication on either side.
Yeah, I think that well, I think if every hairstylist collectively could probably say that they just want so desperately to connect with humans again, right?
Yeah.
Want to sit back with their clients. And some of them just want to do it, just so desperately that they're like, it's okay, I don't mind, I'll go back early, it's okay. Where some are really concerned about the well-being of their health, their families, and they're taking it a little slower. And like I said, each person, it has to be, at least for my perspective from a business owner, um, I'm taking it on an individual basis off my stylist. I'm not forcing anyone to come back if they don't feel comfortable, because my space is a safe space for them. A lot of them, before all this happened, were spending more time here than with their own families. And I want them to know that they can trust me and that I'm here for them, and that I don't want them to feel like they have to put themselves at risk. But if they do feel comfortable coming back and the government says that we're okay, we take all the safety protocols that we need to do, and they feel comfortable, then I'll be there to support them through that as well.
Jamie, I have some questions, and I don't
Yeah.
mean to put you on the spot. Maybe you don't have the answers, but there are things that come through direct messages for me,
Sure.
as well as on the Ask Me Anything,
Yeah.
which is, right now, what's happened with some states that have opened back up. You have, some salon owners that are requesting that the stylists come back, and there isn't necessarily you can't, oh, you don't feel comfortable, you can stay home, etc. And so there, I'm going to lay it all out there, all of the challenges. So one is the challenge of whether they feel safe and comfortable to come back. The other is if they don't feel safe and comfortable to come back, or if they are allowed to work, but their whatever sort of child care they had in place is not available, then I'm a single mom with a 4-year-old at home and I can't go back to work. Do you know how this is impacting, if they're commission-based salons right now, they're able to get unemployment, right?
Correct.
And if they don't come back, do you know how that impacts that for them at all? Because it's a question I've gotten, and I don't know how to answer it. I think their thought is if they don't go back, which I don't know what they'll do with their 4-year-old, or if they don't feel safe, but then they're losing out on benefits because it appears as though they're quitting versus the situation that we're in now.
I'm not 100% positive, but what I believe to be true, at least I think every state is different. But for mine, I can continue to keep them off on unemployment, if I choose to do so. If they don't feel comfortable, my husband and I can make that decision as owners of the company, because we are small, and I do care about these people so much that we would rather take the hit than have them come back and feel not safe. Because these are unprecedented times, right? And I want to do whatever I can to make my team feel safe. And at least for our state, we can choose to keep them on unemployment during that time until daycares open back up.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or if they have family nearby and they're not able to have, that communication, have their mother-in-law come over and watch their children yet. Like, it all comes down to me. That decision is just human instinct. I can't take them off of that and have them make nothing, especially being a mother myself.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that feels like.
Yeah, I think that's okay. So at the end of the day, everyone sort of needs to make sure that you are getting the information that you need from your local authorities. If you are in the United States, don't forget to go to the Pro Beauty Association, which is probeauty.org, because they are updating things every day, information and resources, in order for us to know exactly what to do in these crazy and unusual, unprecedented, and different times, depending on where you live. Jamie, before you go, are there any final words, thoughts that you'd like to share with those that are watching today?
Yes, I do. I always have them. I do. So I am a very spiritual person, and I want to just take a second to do something with everybody. If everybody who's watching and who watches this in the future, and Sherry and Alfredo, if you'd like to join in, if you feel comfortable, I want you to. This is what I call the 448 and welcoming yourself back home. So I'm just going to have you put your hands on your chest and just kind of wait until you can feel your heartbeat. And just breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and breathe out for 8. And close your eyes. So I always suggest doing that 3 times. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, release for 8, and kind of just check in to your home, your soul, and welcome yourself back home. Because it's impossible to feel worry and to be focused on a breath at the same time. It's impossible to feel scared and focus fully on yourself at the same time. So whenever you're feeling anxious or scared, tap into those emotions, because they serve a purpose. They're little gifts from our subconscious to acknowledge and to heal them. The more we suppress them, the more they come out and manifest into anxiety. So I just encourage you guys to just welcome yourself back home, that you're safe and you're loved.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Jamie, that's amazing. And so for those that would like more of this from you, where do they go? How do they find out what you have?
Sure. So I have a whole list of opportunities and things that I offer, whether they be free or paid, forever, whatever kind of coaching that people feel that they need at the time. The biggest thing that I'm offering right now is my Magic of Money Making, which is manifestation, rewiring the subconscious mind, and becoming a magnet for more abundance into your life. So that is a 5-week coaching course, and all the information is on my Instagram. And that is one of the most life-changing courses that I've ever created. I'm so proud of it. I'm so excited. It's like there and ready for people. I have some free coaching on there as well. And Salt Society has a ton of education as well for other areas, whether it be business, technical, personal development. We have it all for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jamie. So for everybody here, please go to @PrettyLittleLombre on Instagram for more information, and know that now is the time. We talk about business not being sexy, and maybe right now you're thinking, damn it, I wish I went to those business classes. I can promise you Jamie has made business sexy. So please make sure you go and visit her Instagram page.
Business is sexy.
Business is sexy. So thank you,
guys.
I love you, Jamie. Thank you so much.
Love you.